Greetings friends, David Marks here. Today, I have a tutorial for you on the new Select Objects command inside of Adobe Photoshop Lightroom Classic. I'm going to keep this lesson as short as possible because A, I've covered the fundamentals of masking in Lightroom at length elsewhere, and B, the amazing tool that I want to talk about today is incredibly easy to use. So, if you're running an up-to-date version of Lightroom Classic, and if you're already familiar with the way that masks and masking work inside of this wonderful program, then let's jump right in and let's get started. For our first example today, I have an image that I shot years ago of a very friendly horse. Now to you and I, the horse is clearly the subject of this image. But if I open up the masking panel and I activate Classic's Select Subject command, and then if I turn on the Show Overlay option, and if I set the overlay mode to something like color overlay on black and white, then you can see that the select subject command made way too broad a selection. In this case, it got more than just the horse. So let me delete this mask and let's try this again. But this time, I'm going to use the select objects command. Once the select objects command is active, I'm going to tap here to choose the rectangular option, and then I'll drag a rectangle out that covers the horse's head. I don't need to be too precise because the AI engine is going to search within this zone for me. In no time, Classic detects the subject within this zone, and it creates a very good mask. Now that the horse is selected, I can dial in some changes over here to add a little more light and color into this part of my image. Now, if I close the masking panel, then if I tap on the backslash key on my keyboard, you can see a before and after. We went from this, where the horse is a little dark, to this, where that mask creates a spotlight type effect of light and color around my subject in no time. That's awesome. And thanks to the new Select Objects command, I didn't have to waste any time painting carefully around this image. For our second example today, I have a product photography shot that I created a few years ago. I made this one to illustrate a composition lecture about how the human eye is inherently attracted to the break in a clear repetitive pattern. In this case, that bright red strawberry is an anomaly, and it's where your attention should go when you look at this image. So, if I want to make the message that my composition implies even clearer, if I want to add more emphasis to that one part of this image, then it's time to work with the masking tools inside of Lightroom Classic. Now, once again, you would think that if I activate the Select Subject command, that it would have no problem identifying the strawberry as the subject here. But once again, Adobe's AI engine selects more than what I really want. All of that area in red is what's currently selected. So, since this command failed, let me delete the mask again. And now I need to choose a plan B. And plan B is where the Select Objects command fits in my workflow. So this time though, I'm going to tap here to choose the brush selection mode. And now I'm going to paint roughly over the area that I want to select. When I drag this selection brush around, I don't need to be too careful, and I want to make sure to include a little bit of extra space beyond the edge of the strawberry. As soon as I let go of the button on my mouse, Classic will use its amazing AI selection algorithms to find a selection, if it can, within that area. And bam, just like that, we now have a mask that targets this strawberry only. Well, now that we have our mask, I can dial in some quick changes over here in the masking panel. I might have overdone it, but watch when I turn this mask off and on, how much more prominent this part of the photo becomes. If needed, I could dial back on any one of these changes, or I could use the amount slider up here to reduce them all at once. Next, I can also use the new duplicate and inverse mask command to create the exact opposite of this mask. Now I have a mask that targets everything but the strawberry. And with this mask, let me make the background a little darker and less detailed. Okay, so now let me flip this little switch on and off at the top of the masking panel to show you what we've accomplished using just these two masks. That's what we started with, and that's where we are now. If there's a moral to this lesson, then it's this. When you're working in Lightroom and you come across a situation where one of the instant selection methods, like select subject or select sky, is not giving you accurate results, then try using the new select objects command to target the AI masking engine's brainpower towards a specific part of your image. When it comes to masking, it pays to have a plan A, B, and C. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you learned something today, then please hit the subscribe button and leave us a like or a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next tutorial.